Glad you're here for our Adventures in Learning. I think we will get going here this morning with our first speaker. We're going to find out about Caring Bridge, and I look forward to this. Interesting. We have Kathy Erickson and a little help from Sharon Callister. So please give them a round of applause and welcome them here. Kathy.
Thank you, Rod. Good morning, and I'm happy to see you all here. It's kind of an interesting winter when you look at the thermometer in the morning and say, good, it's only 7 below today. My name is Kathy Erickson. We live a few miles east of Cannon Falls, and I serve as a volunteer information coordinator community coordinator or contact person for Caring Bridge. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about what Caring Bridge is, how you can use it to give and receive support, and to answer your questions. And I'm joined today by Sharon Callister, who will tell you more about her experience in creating a website, a Caring Bridge site, for her husband, Colin. This is what the homepage of Caring Bridge looks like. And if you're not familiar with it, Caring Bridge operates it's a website that gives tools for people to create their own personal protected web spaces where they can post information and give and receive support in any kind of a health event. So we'll talk today about who can use Caring Bridge, what is it for, what kinds of situations, does it cost anything, how is your privacy protected, and what are the benefits to individuals, caregivers, family, and friends? And how do I get started if I want to create a site? How many of you have either viewed someone else's Caring Bridge site or created one of your own? Okay, quite a few of you. And you're in good company. As many as 500,000 people connect to Caring Bridge websites every day. My own interest in Caring Bridge stems more from a lack of a resource like this in earlier days. When our son was 3, and he's 38 now, he spent about a month in the hospital here in Cannon Falls and up in Minneapolis. And in those days, there was no email, there were no websites, no cell phones, and everything was long distance to call, from here to there. We had, a lot of people wanted to know what was happening and wanted to help, but really we were just tired out from taking care of our son, and we really did not, it was difficult to keep everybody informed. It would have been wonderful to have a better way to do that. When my sister's husband died suddenly in 1994, I spent a day making phone calls, and many of you have probably had the same experience. It was really quite exhausting to call everyone, walk them through what had happened, tell them about the same information and the funeral information and all of that. And it was also hard to find out people's phone numbers and addresses, especially for coworkers, people you thought should be called, but hard to locate them. It would have been very helpful to have this information posted somewhere where people could look at it. And also several years ago, when my father began to need more assistance with daily living, with paperwork and meals and yard work and all of that, we had, with 6 kids in the family and grandkids, there were many willing helpers, but what we needed was to coordinate everybody. I did start a simple website at the time to try to keep us organized, but really I'm not a website designer, and our website was less than ideal. It would have been wonderful to have an easy-to-use task planner already designed for our needs. So over the last few years, I've become increasingly aware of Caring Bridge also as friends and family have used it. And I'm interested in helping people learn how to use it when it might be useful for them in whatever their particular health journey may be. A couple things about Caring Bridge. People all over the world use it, and it's available any time of the day or night to anyone who has an internet connection or a smartphone connection. And that's especially useful if you have family who is spread out all over the country, or deployed somewhere else in the world or living in, somewhere else. Whatever time zone, it can be used. You can use CaringBridge on any computer or mobile device such as a smartphone or an iPad, and it's available to anyone who has an internet or a smartphone connection. So the first question is, who is CaringBridge for? Really, it is for anyone who is experiencing some kind of a health challenge, big or small. It can be anything acute or long-term, any age, babies to grandparents. Some of the things people have used it for include, accidents, injuries, surgery, hospitalization, rehabilitation, hospice care, and support connected to a military deployment or an adoption. Just for a few examples. CaringBridge got started in 1997, and it calls itself the first and most widely used caring social network. Sona Mering is a woman who worked in computer science. She founded CaringBridge in her home in Egan in 1997. And as she says, my original idea was simple. I wanted to connect family and friends facing a health challenge with loved ones because care and concern can be transformative and healing. As Sona Mering describes it, she says, in 1997, good friends of mine had a premature baby. They asked me to let everyone know what was happening. Instead of making emotional and time-draining phone calls, I created a website. In fact, the same night that baby Bridget was born, the first CaringBridge site was created. CaringBridge instantly became a connection point in ways that were extremely personal and powerful for everyone. The site allowed family members to communicate information to a wide circle of people. They posted daily journal entries, and the guest book enabled visitors to send the family messages of love and encouragement. She goes on, it was obvious that CaringBridge could help any family going through a health event, not only by letting everyone know what was happening, but by bringing that loving, supportive community together. Baby Bridget lived only 9 days after her birth, but her legacy lives on in the CaringBridge idea that was named in her honor. This is what the general CaringBridge homepage looks like, and it offers offers privacy, tools that are easy to use, and simple ways to lend a hand. Just to talk about privacy for a moment. First of all, CaringBridge is not in the business of marketing your information. And they don't sell it or share it with outside vendors. So when personal data is protected, not sold, there's no outside advertising. And when you set up a site, you have some privacy options. You can decide to make your site open to anybody. You can make it open to anybody who signs in, or you can do it by invitation only. So you have some options there. CaringBridge is a nonprofit. Its stated mission is to amplify the love, hope, and compassion in the world, making each health journey easier. Another question people have is whether it costs anything to use it. In keeping with the nonprofit mission, CaringBridge is committed to offering its services at no charge. It's free for anyone who wants to use the site. It is funded, you wonder how do they get their money, it is funded by donations. And so if you are out on the site, you will see places where it tells you how to donate money. And if you opt to receive notifications, you will see something in there about how to donate. But for anyone who's using the site, there is absolutely no obligation. Most of the people who donate are people who've benefited in some way from the site, but it is free to use. Donations to CaringBridge do go directly to the organization to be used to make the site available to people. One thing they don't do is administer funds for individuals. Say you have a fundraiser for somebody, that would be up to you to administer those funds and get them to the individual. Caring Bridge does not do that. You can give donations in honor of somebody and designate it in their honor, but they don't go directly to the person. Then if you're having some kind of an event or fundraiser, you can certainly put that information on the site. We've talked a little bit about some of the benefits of connecting, and people benefit in several ways. It simplifies the communication, it sets that community of support in motion, overcomes the physical and emotional distances, and it expands opportunities for people to express their love and compassion. Some specific benefits that people mention, some that individuals or patients mention, is that they get emotional support, for one thing. One person said, "I've come to realize how loved, supported, and blessed I am. It gives me the strength to keep on fighting." Another person said, "It can make the difference between surrendering to hopelessness and having the gumption to keep going." Another benefit for a person who may be ill is that they can read the site and the messages at any time of the day or night. It's not when they can sleep when they need to sleep or go to their appointments or whatever, but they can read these on their own time when it's convenient for them. Many people find the experience of creating a journal and writing something to be therapeutic in itself. And also it provides a record later, what you were going through if you're trying to remember back then. For caregivers, they also get emotional support. They can share the information with a number of people at the same time with just write a message one time. To save their energy, to take care of their loved one, and also to take care of themselves. So it helps to conserve their energy at a time when they need it. They can post that information at any time. They don't need to go looking for the phone numbers and the addresses. And they can also post types of support that they need. There's a support planner or task planner, and people can then schedule themselves to help. For people who want to help, and many people truly do feel that it's a blessing to them to be able to help someone. They want to help, but you don't always know if it's a good time to call, or if are you bothering the family, or what do they need. So this is a way that people can see what is actually needed, and they can look at it at any time. They can organize family or friends to help. They can, if they are part of a faith community, they can organize encouragement or prayer or spiritual strength for that person. They can see all kinds of support that may have been posted on the support planner and sign up to do that. And another thing, the encouragement goes both ways. Many people have said they were actually encouraged by the individual who is having the health challenge by seeing how they handled it. So maybe they're facing something similar or afraid of facing something similar, and they see how the person or the family is handling it, and they get encouragement that way too. And one other group, healthcare professionals, say it helps them. For example, the nurses station doesn't get as many calls to say, how is this person doing, because they can find out. Here are just a few people. I'm just going to run through a few people who have allowed their pictures to be put on there. I don't know all their situations, but someone says it gave me strength for my recovery. More personal than email or Facebook. And so to get started, it is simple. I'm not going to give a detailed how-to today, but if they try to make it as easy as possible for anyone to set up a site. You go, it's on any computer, you go to the computer and go to the website. If you have not used a computer, it might, and you feel that you would like to get involved in setting up a site, it is, perhaps there's someone in your family that can help. I know that there are computers for use at the Shepherd Center and at the library. But it is, they try to make it as easy as possible. You probably can't see all the details here, but you fill in your information, who the site is for, what you want to call the website. It just walks you through all these steps. Here you select your privacy preferences. You have low, medium, high. Select how you want people, if you want people to be able to search for this site. There are a number of options for you if you want to choose color schemes or pictures, all these kinds of things. There are, I'll just kind of go through a few features of the site. There is the personal planner. Once again, I'm not sure you can see all the details, but you can fill in different kinds of tasks that people could do. More details, what time of the day, what they need, who to call, contacts. And then all these things appear on a calendar. I just filled in a few examples here. I've got take Dad to the doctor. If you were to click on it, you'd see more. Bring supper on all these days. You can see there on the 13th, I've signed up for that one, so you can see that somebody has signed up, and you can see which ones are still open. You can reply to journal entries. You can now send direct one-to-one messages if you want to. And you can also put up something that's kind of new on the journal and also the guest book. You can put up pictures and videos and drawings. There's also a help page, new to CaringBridge, visit the CaringBridge site, manage the site, and information about how you could contact a live person for help. So, and for a person who wants to visit a site, it's as easy as just going to that site. If you know where it is or if you've been invited, you could leave a message or sign up for a task. And really, CaringBridge is really just a tool, something that you can use to, if needed, to bring together a community of support, to give and receive support for each other. I'm going to, I think, we will take some questions later, but before that, I would like to, I'm just going to see if I forgot anything here. I would like to ask Sharon Callister to come up. And, the one thing I want to mention is, if you know someone you think would benefit from CaringBridge, please feel free to take one of the brochures in the back and bring it to them. Happy to do that. Anyway, I would like to ask Sharon to come up. She will be able to give you more firsthand information about her experience in actually creating a CaringBridge site. So, Sharon.
Thanks, Kathy. Well, I learned a lot from your presentation, because when I jumped right into using it, I didn't really have time to go into all that information then, so thank you. So I'd like to share how I came to use CaringBridge for the very first time. My husband Colin had his original diagnosis of ocular melanoma in August of 2008. Ocular melanoma is extremely rare. 6 in a million people get melanoma through the retina, the back of their eye, from the sun. Most get it from their skin. And from that original diagnosis in August of 2008 until December 2011, I had been communicating by sending group emails and by phone calls. And the schedule with doctors and appointments wasn't so intense during that period of time, so I was able to manage that. In the group emails where someone showed me how to do group emails, because I am the most non-technological person that God ever created. He created me with one technical brain cell. And unfortunately, when I went through my own chemotherapy in 2000, the chemo had to kill that. So I've been totally helpless in that ever since. So someone told me I could actually do group emails. And I was sending those. I had a group of extended family, relatives, group of friends. Another group was high school and college friends for both Colin and me. And also Colin's colleagues from White Bear Lake High School, where he worked as a school counselor for so many years. But by December 2011, the trips to ER, sometimes Cannon Falls, more often St. Mary's and Rochester, and the appointments in Rochester were so frequent and so intense. By the time I got home, sometimes Colin was kept overnight and I would come home alone and go back again early the next morning. I was so exhausted. There was nothing left to be making these phone calls and to send several group emails when I returned home. It seemed like the need to keep people informed and to request their support and prayers, the less time and energy I was able to do so. Someone, and I honestly can't even remember who, I think it was just such a blur, during those days, that someone suggested that I start CaringBridge, and they assured me that it was very easy, even for a non-technical person like me, to be able to go on site. And so I did so. And so I would encourage you, if I was able to do that any of you certainly would be able to too. These are the benefits that I personally found in using Colin's CaringBridge site. The first I've already kind of hinted at, that it was an efficient way to give frequent updates to a large number of people by writing just one message on the CaringBridge and then posting that. And what I did was I just transferred the email addresses from those group emails, added a few more, so I started with that base of contacts. And the last email that I sent to all these groups I was starting the CaringBridge and Colin's CaringBridge address. So all those people knew then. The unexpected and happy surprise that came was that many of those people had contact information for other people who knew Colin and informed them of Colin's CaringBridge site. So we were getting messages from all these people that we didn't have the contact information. And so the branching out, the ripple effect was just amazing to us. Then after Colin died on December 23rd, 2011, it was a fast, efficient way to inform a large number of people of the Celebration of Life arrangements and also Lundberg Funeral Home's website. The second for me, and Kathy, you alluded to this somewhat in your presentation, for me it was tremendous therapy. To come home from spending all day at St. Mary's or ER, wherever we were, and to come home and to be able to just open that computer, that laptop, and to be able to debrief the day. And for me, I like to express myself in writing. Dolores, I know that's true of you and several of you here. And some of you don't feel comfortable with that at all, so you don't have to do this. But for me, I was able to pour my heart out. I was able to share very candidly what our needs were, what the prayer requests were. And then I could push that post, close that laptop, say my prayers, go to bed, and not be running through those movies of the day and all the oncologist comments and everything. I was able to sleep once I did that. That was extremely helpful for me. A third was the encouragement for Colin and me and our whole family. Though Colin was very weak those last weeks, his mind was able to comprehend the messages and that were read to him as he rested at our home. We had hospice at our home the last week. And he was really able to comprehend and appreciate those messages until about 3 days before he died. And during those final weeks, where he did a lot of reviewing of his life, I think that's very typical when someone knows they're going to be dying within a short time, to be reviewing their life. And Colin was doing a lot of that. And when the Caring Bridge entries were read to them, and they were so sincere and so heartfelt, he had a full assurance that his life here on earth had mattered to many people. Especially meaningful to him was that his faith had benefited many. And he had a sense of the legacy that he was leaving behind. And one of Colin's favorite essays, ever since he saw it several years ago, was the one called The Dash. And many of you have probably seen that too. But the idea of this essay called The Dash is when you go to a cemetery and you look at the gravestones, there's the birth date and there's the death date. And what's in between the two but the dash? And the dash represents how you lived your life between that birth date and that death date, and really what your legacy is. And Caring Bridge gave Colin that wonderful gift of having a sense of what the dash on his gravestone right here in the local cemetery would represent and what his legacy was, because he was able to hear over and over from people themselves by having those guest book entries read to him. A fourth major benefit for our family was that, and again, Kathy, you mentioned this too, it's a lasting document. It can be printed. I have not yet removed Colin's Caring Bridge, even though it's been over 2 years. There's no hurry, there's no pressure to do that, because I've been waiting for a time when I have a new ink cartridge and can print like these without running out of ink. So I printed some of them, but not all of them yet. And at Colin's Celebration of Life, which was right here at St. Ansgar's, the church that we go to, Riverwood, was the new building was in the process of being built, so we were very thankful to have Colin's Celebration of Life here in his Youth Fellowship Hall afterwards. So there were, one of the pastors read a representative few of the Caring Bridge entries at Colin's Celebration of Life. And then my plan, are you familiar with the Shutterfly books, the photo books? Kind of the scrapbooking is kind of giving way, now to the Shutterfly, types of books. And so my plan is to have someone help me do a book of Colin's life with pictures representative of his entire life, but also then at the end to include some of the representative sample of the Caring Bridge entries, also of what his life had meant, how his life had impacted other people. And that's especially for my own family. We just have 3 grandsons. My daughter Chrissy Newmans they built a log home right across the creek from our farm, and their son Hudson is 13. He got to see his grandpa almost every day just across the creek. But my son Aaron's sons, little Colin was just a few months old when my husband Colin died, and Connor was just born last summer. Those 2 little boys will never have a chance to meet their grandpa. And so this book will be, I think, especially meaningful for them and handing down to the future generations. Kathy was so wonderful in calling and suggesting that she could put a few slides from Colin's Caring Bridge on, which, non-techie that I am, I just never dreamed, that something like that could be possible. And so she's going to help me just give you a little sample. I saw that I had done a total of 18 journal entries, and there were a total of 293 guest entries. And so just a tiny little sample so you can see what they would be like. So the My Story, and you have the option of having one or more pictures or no pictures. I'm sure at the time that Colin did have a say in which pictures were chosen. I hadn't seen this picture until a couple days ago when I was going through all this. And you know, to tell the truth, it was very emotional for me to see the pictures, to go back and read these after a little over 2 years now. And when I saw that picture of my husband, that was the main one that was on the My Story. Because when you open a Caring Bridge site, what you start with is an abbreviation of what the story is, why the person is on Caring Bridge. And I'd forgotten how my husband's appearance had changed. That looking at that, was that really, you know, how he looked at the end, close to the end? And you know, on a personal note, we had been married over 44 years. And I love that sweetheart, you know, so much that I never noticed he was getting less and less handsome. You know, to me, I saw the man inside that deteriorating body. I still saw that sweetheart I met on St. Paul campus. And that man I loved so much and had had the privilege of being his wife for all those years, for bearing his children, that I didn't notice that his exterior was just deteriorating to someone that wouldn't even be recognizable to many of the people that were on Caring Bridge. And I kind of wondered, you know, wow, should we even have put that picture? But as I was sharing with Kathy before our program started, people who hadn't seen Colin for 40 years, 30 years, or people in the Japan mission field hadn't seen him for about 25, 30 years, they maybe wouldn't have been as motivated, you know, to pray and support if they didn't see for themselves that he really is dying here. That's not how he, you know, normally looks. The other pictures, I think we had 2 other pictures on there, and they were when he was healthy. But another thing I thought when I saw this picture, God was so good. My husband so desired to be able to live long enough to see another grandchild born. We knew it was going to be a little boy. And then to find out that this grandson's name was also Colin, that he had a namesake. And so this was probably little Colin's last visit. And this picture just shows the cycle of life. Yes, Grandpa's dying, but here's this healthy, plump, radiant little namesake who has no concept of what's happening, you know, with Grandpa. And so this picture really is very precious to us. So it's the abbreviation of the story. And then the next one, Kathy, this is just an example of a letter from Anne Marie from Japan. My husband and I and our 3 children were missionaries in Japan from 1983 to 1985. We were the girls' dormitory parents at the Christian Academy of Japan. Most of our dorm daughters, we had 18 dorm daughters, and most of them were the children of career missionaries. And Anne Marie was one of those. Hadn't seen her, you know, all these years. But we support Anne Marie and her husband as missionaries over there now. They in turn became missionaries. And so she had kept in touch with all these dormitory sisters and the colleagues that were there when we were there. So she, you know, got all of those on Caring Bridge that we didn't even have the contact information. So it was such a blessing. Jan Shaler was Colin's secretary in the counseling department at White Bear Lake South Campus, and we had kept in contact with her, but she again, she had the contact information for all Colin's colleagues and for some of the students that she knew that Colin had made a significant difference in their lives as a school counselor. And so here were all these people again from his career at White Bear Lake that had the information. The next one, Jeremy Barber is one of my sister's sons. And Jeremy had gotten to know his Uncle Colin when he was growing up But once he graduated from college, first worked in Alaska and then in Seattle, Washington. And Colin had no idea, that this nephew-in-law, remembered, him and that he'd made an impact. And so that was an example of someone that Colin had an impact in when someone was growing up and they would write back. And Jeremy's just one example of that. The next one was an update of Colin that I wrote on December 16th. And so at this point, because Colin's liver had stopped functioning, he looked like he was carrying triplets until daily, he had a tube put in so that the hospice nurse could drain that fluid. So just kind of giving some information of the procedure that had been done, going on hospice, visitors, what the prayer needs were. We just so needed and so appreciated a quick and easy way to let people know what our prayer needs were. And to feel, there were so many times Colin and I said, we just sense in the midst of all this hard time that we are being carried on a wave of prayer. And I think because of Caring Bridge getting our needs out to so many people, it was a wave of prayer we were being carried on. The next one was December 21st, so this was actually just 2 days before Colin died. And so this is one of those I think I was just kind of pouring my heart out to people. It was therapy for me. What did I put? Even his guardian angels of the night must be frazzled by now. The next one, December 24th, this was the day after Colin died. So I'm sure at some point on the 23rd, probably in the evening, then I did the Caring Bridge that Colin did die at 11:10 that morning. And this was just a brief one that came. And it was Christmas time. People were busy. People were traveling, and still, the people that were taking the time, it was a priority to put entries in at Christmas time to help us through those Christmas days. And the next one, these were former people from Cannon Falls from the 80s, Bob and Mary Good. Bob was then, maybe you knew him, Dolores. He worked at what was Mineral Springs. He was a chemical dependency counselor. Yep, and then he got transferred to another state. But we maintained our friendship. Of course, they live in Idaho, so we're able to come. But just when they got the email of Colin's death, just some of the encouraging words that they sent on December 26th. Colin's celebration of life was actually December 30th. Then the next one, January 15th. As all of you know whose spouse has died or another significant person, when you really need the support is after the funeral and everybody's going back. Everybody's going back to their normal lives, and there you are. And so I was so grateful that we had Caring Bridge for those days, weeks afterwards. And this was just one of just assurances and support. And then people started asking, how are you doing? I was getting phone calls. I went down to Econo. How are you doing, Sharon? And so then I did one on January 22nd. Because probably everybody on Caring Bridge was wondering, well, how are you doing now? And so that was easy for me too, to be able to reach lots of people with one message that were wondering about that. And then my final one was on April 5th. And it was a fairly long one. But I knew the first Valentine's Day couldn't put that one up, that would be just too hard for me. I just knew I was gonna have a hard time with that first Valentine's Day. All the first holidays are hard, but Valentine's, that's for you and your sweetheart. And so I put a Caring Bridge entry. Please help pray me through this first Valentine's Day. So there's a little reference, to that. But what I put in my final entry was just some of the wisdom that I gleaned to pass on, and also some of the things, just practical steps that I encouraged people to do ahead of time. Probably just things like the living will. I got the list of things to do from Sue at Lundberg's, that it would have been nice to have had that maybe 2 years earlier. I get some of those things, lined up. So just some of that practical advice. So I did get quite a few guest entries after my final entry, thanking me for that, people that were going to follow through in doing some of those things that I suggested. I would highly recommend a Caring Bridge, and I have been on several since for other people, and being on the other end has been so helpful too. And like Kathy said, if you don't have a computer, at your home, the Shepherd Center, the library, hospitals, where your loved one is, would very likely have one you could use. Think of a relative or a friend that is fairly savvy, a little bit more savvy than you, and ask them if that's when they're saying, what can I do to help? This is a way, you could help. You could help me with the Caring Bridge. And then once the site is up, you can ask someone to enter your updates. And if you don't have that computer yourself, or don't feel comfortable doing that, you can call that person that's going to help you with that, and just read over the phone or give them something written that you would like them to put. So I believe that there is a way for every person who wants to use Caring Bridge to find a way to do so. And I certainly encourage you to do so as a gift to yourself and to your loved ones. Kathy, I think you're going to suggest any questions?
Thank you, Sharon. Why don't you stay up here in case people have questions for you? But yes, does anyone have questions for either for Sharon or me? Dolores was describing the time after her husband's death and how, it's different from anything you had experienced, and it goes on for, really forever. And she, perhaps if she had been using Caring Bridge, she might have put some of that out there. Sharon?
I shared those with you, Dolores, but I've got to share it with others too. Probably 2 years before Colin even got this diagnosis, in your Thoughts on Sunday and other weekdays, you had a picture of you and Bill doing your old time dancing. And under the picture, the caption was, "Those were the days, my friend, I thought they would never end," from the song. And when I read your column and I saw that picture, it's like God knew way back then that I had a limited amount of time with my husband. And it was like, these days with your husband will end. Enjoy them while you can. And that came to pass. And so I just want to share that with all of it. Those of you that have your loved ones, whether it's a spouse or another loved one, enjoy them. Because those are the days, my friend, and they will end, someday. And so enjoy them while you have them.
Thank you so much on behalf of Caring Bridge for the opportunity to come and talk to you. And I hope that Caring Bridge can be of assistance to you, or to anyone in your family, or that you can use it to be of assistance to others. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Sharon. Very, very interesting. Thank you. And I mentioned we do have computers at Shepherd Center, so they are available for you to use. And if you needed help with, putting together a Caring Bridge site, or if you need help starting an email or whatever, we're there to help you. So stop by Shepherd Center anytime. We have computers with internet access to. They're there for you to use.